Alright fellas, now a couple days ago it was announced finally that we're going to see Du Plessis defend his belt against Khamzat Chimaev. The boogeyman of the division is finally getting his shot at the belt. Although from an outside perspective it might seem like Chimaev is the clear favourite, you should never really count Du Plessis out. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. How could we see this fight go? What are the variables at play and what should we expect? But just quickly, if you don't know, my name's Cloister and this channel is your one-stop shop for everything MMA, so make sure to subscribe and I will always keep you in the loop. Now, this fight is set to headline UFC 319 in August at the United Center in Chicago. Honestly, it's a pretty hyped fight. Finally, we're seeing Chimaev fight for that belt, and as well as that, both fighters bring pretty unique styles which make it a pretty interesting fight to break down. So, Du Plessis. Now, the guy's been on an absolute tear since he joined the UFC back in 2020. Coming out of South Africa, he's brought this wild, unorthodox style that's been giving his opponents absolute strife. And he's not a one-trick pony either. The man can bang on his feet and hold his own on the ground. And he's taken out some pretty serious names on his way to the top. Robert Whittaker, Derek Brunson, Darren Till. Each fight, he seems to bring something new to the table. He keeps everyone guessing. But what about his latest fight? Well, he went 5 hard rounds with Strickland and still came out on top. It wasn't just about landing punches, it was about outsmarting and outlasting a very tough opponent. Du Plessis showed he isn't just a brawler, he's also a thinker too. And what shows that is his ability to adapt on the fly. You think you got him figured out and then he completely switches it up. That unpredictability combined with his relentless pressure makes him a nightmare to deal with. On the other side, you got Chimaev, still undefeated at 14-0 and easily still one of the most feared guys in the game. He's built his name off just smashing people with his relentless wrestling and insane pressure. He's also stormed through some pretty big names too. Robert Whittaker, Whittaker and Usman, he stormed through them like they were nothing. And since moving up to middleweight, he hasn't really missed a beat either. He looks just as dangerous, maybe even more so that he's not draining himself to make 170. But if there's one thing people are still unsure about, it's his gas tank. We've seen glimpses of where he starts to slow down a bit in deeper waters. Against a guy like Du Plessis who thrives in chaos and just doesn't fade, this could be a real problem. Now overall, Chimaev's wrestling is his bread and butter, and he will likely look to take the fight to the ground early and as often as he can. Whilst Du Plessis, on the other hand, will aim to keep the fight standing, utilising his striking to wear down Chimaev over time. But now I want to talk about what either fighter's path to victory would be. First, let's talk about Dricus. How can he actually win this thing? Because despite what the odds might say, it's definitely not out of the question. For starters, Du Plessis thrives in chaos. His style isn't pretty, and it's often described as pretty awkward. But that awkwardness is a part of what makes him so dangerous. He's unpredictable, he throws off guys who are used to clean technical exchanges. Instead, he drags them into messy, exhausting wars. Hey, just go ask Robert Whittaker. That fight looked like it was going to be a calculated chess match. But Du Plessis bulldozed his way through with pressure, volume and power. He makes fights ugly and that's where he really shines. So the first key to victory for Du Plessis would be to survive that early storm. Chimaev's biggest strength is in his fast start. He comes out like a missile. If Dricus can defend those initial takedowns, scramble back up if he gets grounded and force Khamzat to work harder than he wants to, the fight starts to shift. Because if there's one big question mark around Chimaev, it's cardio. He's never really gone 5 hard rounds. Du Plessis on the other hand showed against Strickland that hey, he can fight at a high pace for the full fight if he needs to. So across these rounds, Dricus also needs to make Khamzat uncomfortable on his feet. He doesn't need to prove he's the best striker, he just needs to land shots that make Chimaev think twice about shooting. Elbows in the clinch, kicks to the body, short hooks on the break. If Chimaev starts to hesitate and starts doubting whether he can take him down and hold him there, then the fight really starts opening up for Du Plessis. So overall, Du Plessis' path to victory is about weathering that storm, forcing a messy fight and draining Chimaev's gas tank. If he can get the fight into the 3rd or 4th round, you gotta like his chances a lot more. Now let's look at Chimaev's path to victory. Well, for Chimaev, the game plan's pretty clear. Don't give Dricus any space. The moment the fight starts, Khamzat wants to close that distance as soon as possible, clinch up and drag Du Plessis to the mat. Now, that's kind of his trademark style on how he wins fights, by overwhelming guys before they even know what's happening. He did exactly that to Kevin Holland, he almost did it to Whittaker and Usman. His best performances have all come when he doesn't let you breathe. When he gets a hold of you, he just drowns you with that pressure. For Khamzat, with there still being questions about his gas tank, the first round is really everything. That's when he's at his freshest, that's when his takedowns are at their sharpest, and that's when his ground and pound is the most dangerous. If he can get Du Plessis down early and flatten him out and start raining down damage, he could get a finish or at the very least an absolutely dominant round in the bank. And if Du Plessis is forced to work from the bottom position for, say, the full 5 minutes of the opening round, that takes away a lot of awkward striking offense later on. He's going to be drained of that energy. But it's not all about the wrestling. Chimaev's striking has come a long way too. We saw that against Usman and even against Burns. He's not just wild hooks anymore. He's starting to time his shots, use a few more feints and manage his distance a bit better. Against Du Plessis, who isn't exactly known for his elite striking defense, that could really matter. If Chimaev manages to land early clean, especially with something like a right hand over the top, he could hurt him and open him up for great opportunities to grapple. And just one more thing, even if Chimaev doesn't get the early finish, if he can control where the fight takes place, when the exchanges happen, and how often Du Plessis is forced to reset, that's a win for him. He needs to be the one dictating, he just can't get dragged into a wild brawl because that's where Du Plessis thrives. So in short, Chimaev's path to victory is about fast starts, relentless control, and keeping Du Plessis from getting any sort of rhythm. The longer the fight goes on, the more it leans towards Dricus. It's that simple. So, if I had to make a prediction, I think this fight really comes down to whether Chimaev can get Du Plessis out there early. If he can't, I can see Dricus dragging him into deep waters and making it ugly. That said, I'm going to take the controversial opinion and back Du Plessis. His gas tank, his toughness, and ability to thrive in chaos might be exactly what's needed to break Chimaev. But I could be hugely wrong. Chimaev could come out there and just ragdoll the fella. But hey, now, I want to hear what you think. Your thoughts on the announcement of this fight, your thoughts on who's going to win. I want to hear all your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does a ton to help the channel. Yep, thanks for watching, fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.